Good morning, Josh. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's Kevin. I thank you for having me here this morning, and I just dropped my kids off at school, so glad to sit down here and have a conversation.
Well, I really appreciate it. I know you're busy and getting ready with this new record. I know you got to do a lot of touring, a lot of recording. So I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to sit in a chair and be a captive audience in the interview here.
You bet. You bet. No, it's my honor.
I want to bring our future audience into our interview here. I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to speak with Josh Hoyer today. Josh and his band Soul Colossal are set to release their newest album on October 21st called Greenlight. And again, thanks for being here today.
You bet.
I understand that you've been performing since you were 6. I mean, so many people talk about that they had music in their soul from the beginning. You've been kind of just since you were 6 years old. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, you bet. Well, my mom and dad put me in a talent show when I was 6 at the high school that my dad taught at. It's a little town outside of Lincoln, Nebraska called Malcolm. And they say I was always singing and dancing around the house, and so they put me in a talent show, and I enjoyed the energy of the crowd and that kind of thing from an early age. I think that connection that you can have with people through music is pretty powerful. So I was hooked at a pretty young age. Yeah,
I'm sure that once you got that audience reaction in the talent show at that age, that it really inspires because you see how you're affecting people in the audience and you see what the smiles and the excitement. So
yeah, it's something that I've always really cherished is having that connection with people. So when you can see that you're affecting someone in the crowd through music, then that you're doing your job.
And I would imagine that sometimes when you are looking out in that crowd, you do see a specific person. Sometimes that you can just see they know all the words to a song, or you've seen them at other shows, or whatever the case may be. And you can tell that they're inspired by what you're saying. And
yeah, I try actually. I mean, if it's any kind of performance, if there's a lot of people or if there's just a few, I do try to pick out a few folks, and really engage them, and it helps fill you up too, as a performer, when you see someone that's really moved or having a great time and dancing or just smiling and enjoying themselves. So yeah, it's definitely a shared energy.
for sure. Can you pinpoint a specific time? So past the talent show, past the 6-year-old talent show, can you pinpoint a specific time later on? I know you were very active in your high school music program. A specific time when you knew that you wanted to pursue music. You wanted this to be your life, your air, your breath.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a specific moment, and I still am on the fence because the music business is so difficult. I've done a lot of different kinds of work in my life. And I've been lucky for the last 7 years now to be just playing music for a living. But it's really tough. So I still don't know, I guess, is the honest answer to that. But yeah, I mean, it's just always been a calling, I guess. I don't know why that is, but it feels like it's the one place where I'm really free, where my mind can let go of its tensions and apprehensions and be just very pure and in the moment, which is a wonderful thing. So I crave that. And expressing yourself and in the world that we live in, it's always been my best outlet, is to write a song about something. So I just go with what's natural, and I don't know.
It's a very therapeutic. I mean, I'm an amateur songwriter, but I've worked in the industry my whole life. And when you talk about how the industry is difficult, it's very difficult. And I've worked on very many different sides of the industry, and I see that. So I always, as a amateur songwriter who just wasn't willing to take that chance to jump in and just say, I'm letting everything go. And I mean, not that you let everything go, but just that you made so many sacrifices, I'm sure, in your life to do this. And, I always admire people like that, because I see all the good and the bad and the ugly of the business.
Right.
And, from all different angles, from the record label side to the record store side to all theater venue side, all of it in my life. And so I always admire that, because I haven't been willing to put my songs out there,
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, when I put this project together, I just wanted to play in Lincoln and have a good time on the weekends.
Yeah.
And then it just took a life of its own. People were just enthralled with the music, and I was really enjoying writing, and so I just kept writing. And we got asked to play in other states, and then it just kind of grew on its own, you know. So I never was like, I'm gonna make it in this business, and never had that intention. But now I'm at the point where it's like, okay, we've been doing this for so long. Is there a next level that we can get to where it can be a little more comfortable, for me and my family? Because, as you age and the money stays the same at the bars that you play
Uh,
at, it's like, okay, but I still am thankful to move people through music. So
yeah.
that's the number one thing.
Well, I know there's a lot of people who are glad that you've extended your shows beyond Lincoln, and that
Good.
your music extends transforms, across the world through the internet and through your touring and across the
Yeah.
country. So I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very grateful that you take that step a little bit further into the business.
Yeah. Right. No, I don't know, just following the muse, right?
Right, right.
Right.
When did you first start playing the piano? Did you start taking lessons a long time ago? Did you just kind of start to pick it up and work with
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. I took lessons as a child. I think I was eight or nine, and I lasted 3 lessons. And I was like, this is the most boring thing I've ever done.
Uh,
Get me out of here. It just felt like a punishment, So as I teach my own children, I don't do it that way.
right.
I try to get them to enjoy the expressiveness of music. And, we talk about theory, but I try to talk about it in a joyful way where you can say, ooh, listen to the mood that this sounds like. And then,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we can go between major and minor chords and try to have some fun with it. So that was not my path, because it was very strict to the teachers that I had. And so I had no fun with that. But I picked it up. I played saxophone all through high school, and that was my initial instrument playing live shows. And then I wanted to write my own music, and it's just really tough on saxophone. So I taught myself piano, taught myself theory, and I've never had a formal lesson other than those first three. And had some great players that have helped me along the way. One of those being Nick Simrod, who plays keys with Corey Henry. He's a former bandmate, and he'd go, you know what you're doing here, because he played with me, he loved the songs, and I'd go, oh, I don't really know what I'm doing here. He's like, here, let me show you, the theory of this, and so that was pretty great. And I just grown since then. I think there's a certain amount of freshness that you can come up with when you're not necessarily trained classically. That the sound is more important than the math and the science of it. And so if you can blend the two, I think that's the best. And I don't know, it's been a fun journey, and I keep trying to improve on my keyboard playing as a soloist, but as a writing tool, it's been extremely important.
I couldn't agree with you more about the whole process. I have not taken piano lessons either. I went to school to be a music teacher, so I did take a couple, classroom piano classes where everybody's got headphones on and everybody's listening to, the person playing some classical melody a little bit with one hand. And when you put that left hand in, it's like that left
Yeah.
hand is what stops the third lesson, right? Let's start talking
Yeah.
about that left hand a little bit, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
when I play, I just I learned, I arpeggiate chords. I just take chords, and I just, I'm not playing. I can't concentrate on left hand piano,
Mhm.
on paper. So I really
Yeah.
I'm kind of like you. I just kind of, found my way.
Yeah. To me, it's all about the songs. And so when I write the bass line, I write the guitar part, I write the piano part or keyboard parts, I write the horn lines, and I'm pretty specific about the drum beats that I want. So for me, I utilize the keyboard in order to suss out what I want the song to sound like, and often the song tells you what it wants to sound like. I think that patience is a virtue, and with songwriting, you can kind of tell when somebody's rushed through it, in my opinion, and oh, okay, this kind of piece this together and this together and this together. Well, that's a tune, right? But it doesn't really have a life of its own. You can sense the difference. So I'm not a pianist, but I utilize that keyboard to orchestrate songs, and it's been an awesome tool for me. So as I get older, I'm getting better at playing keys, and there's nights where I'm like, man, I was ripping tonight, but it's not very often, where I'm very confident in it. But yeah, utilizing the keyboard as an orchestration device has been wonderful.
I always tell students it's kind of like a workbench. The piano is kind of like a workbench to kind of pull it all together. It's whether we're talking about songwriting or we're talking about theory or whatever it is, it's kind of a workbench.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, for sure.
Kind of explain how things work and yet not too deep with it, so that people understand how the notes, what notes might clash, but might still sound cool if they clash a little bit. Or what notes, make a cool chord and yet not get so deep. Like you talked about, with your daughters, major, minor, sounds cool, doesn't it sound neat? Not too deep on the theory of it all,
Right. Yeah, we talk about adding some, add 9, add 11, add,
Yeah.
And then she's now working on, suspended chords and augmented chords and things like, so it's slowly, it's cool. So just to watch, here's what this feels like first. Doesn't that make you feel something? And then you go further out from there, where it's like an extension of your emotional expression.
It's a great place to be. It's a great place to be.
Sure. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you have it's such a soulful voice when you sing, and it's so it's so impassioned when you're up on that stage. I've watched some of your live performances, on the internet, and just seen some of the things you've done, some of the shows. And who are some of the people that have inspired you, whether they be famous or not, whether they be musicians that, household names in the blues or jazz world, or just people around you who inspired you as a musician?
Yeah, sure. Well, Lincoln, Nebraska, when we tour, I tell people from the stage, we're from Lincoln, Nebraska. And often they're just like, what? And then you get people come up and ask questions like, so you guys know about this kind of music in Lincoln, Nebraska, huh? And we have a pretty good music scene here that people aren't maybe aware of. And there's a club called the Zoo Bar that's been here now 49 years. It's a blues club. And so you get to see, the blues artists that travel through in an intimate place where it seats 100 people, and you can have conversations with them because it's not, it's not super busy, or, we have packed nights, but, I just got to see a lot of intimate performances from great blues artists coming through Lincoln, passing through the Midwest. Also, Magic Slim lived here for years, who's a great bluesman. He was a Chicago native for a while and then moved from Chicago to Lincoln. And his brother, Nick Holt, he's a bass player, and he was a bad boy on the bass, but he was a great singer and kind of had more of a soul approach than a blues approach. And I just loved his singing. So he had a big influence on me, teaching me how to kind of like, not give it all away right away, how to bring people into the story, how to make it an intimate thing, no matter how many people were there, or, really invite people to come with you. And so he was a big influence on me here in Lincoln. And my high school teacher, music teacher, he was also another big influence on me, Tim Scherer. He was the jazz chorus professor, and he showed me that I can improvise. I had no idea, but he opened up that world, and he's like, the music's inside of you, and being able to kind of like go from reading along with sheet music to, oh, I don't need that anymore. I can just express myself. I mean, it opened up a huge door. So between that and different recordings that they pushed, to listen to. But yeah, I mean, the list is long of singers that I love. Aretha Franklin. I mean, I love female singers the most. I think Etta James is one of my favorites, and Aretha and Nina Simone. And then, Donny Hathaway is right up there as well. Bobby Womack, these Bobby Blue Bland, these artists that it just pours out of them, and that's the beauty to me, is where you can see that there is no There's no divide between exactly what they're feeling and the emotion that they're putting out through their music. It's so honest. And that's what I love, So, and you can tell when somebody's faking. You can tell. So
Just like you said, the same way you can tell when a song kind of comes together in a weird way, it's not a complete song, or it's just kind of pieced together. You could hear it in the delivery of a song too. And if it's
right.
if it's phoned in, or if
Yeah.
it's really just from the soul and from the heart. These people,
Yeah.
so many blues and jazz artists. I mean, the whole concept of the blues. So many people had such rough lives, and they use their music to express themselves, and so you just hear their soul just pouring out, and it's authentic.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the main thing in this particular kind of music, is that honesty, because without it, you there's no way to connect to people, because what you're doing is letting people know that they're not alone. And so when you bare yourself to people, your struggles, your joys, just that raw energy of being human, that's where the connection happens. So you can't fake it. So that can wear you out too. Like if when you do it night after night after night. We did a European tour where it was 6 weeks, and we did I don't know, it was 39 shows or something. We had 3 days off, in that whole run. And so night after night, when you've learned that's what you have to do. You just get, you give everything. It wears you out, but that's the experience.
I don't think people realize that sometimes. I think, the audience member, oh, here they are, they're singing, they're performing. You do about 125 shows a year, if I understand correctly, on the average, and 39 shows, 30 plus shows in Europe. I mean, not just the performing, but traveling overseas and all of that goes with it, and preparing and leaving the family and all of those things. It's intense.
Yeah, it can be. It can be painful at times, so it's funny. And then you're like, well, I asked for it, so I don't want to be out here complaining, because this is, I'm living the dream, right? It's a funny thing. I think, a lot of ways to live your life is like that. My wife's a teacher, and she loves to teach, but then there's, a lot of challenges with that too. And so whatever our choices are, they're our own, and you deal with the good and the bad.
I've always said in my life, I mean, somehow I've managed to keep doing music jobs, and there's no perfect job. I used to think of there were perfect. Oh, if I were only this, if I were only that, and then I could somehow find the time to put myself in the shoes of that person and say, yeah, but this probably isn't too cool, and that's probably not too cool. So there's no perfect job, no matter how much we enjoy our work in life. Yeah, and thank goodness for that because there's so many people who, go through life working and don't have any joy in their job. It's just a soul of support their family, a means of supporting their family. And to be grateful to say that there's many things you do like about a job, and whatever it be. But there's no perfect job. No perfect job.
No. No.
You were talking a little bit about the high school program and your teacher. There was a point when you were in show choir, right? And the transition into the jazz group.
Oh yeah.
For a moment, you were kind of like, I don't know if I like this idea, and then look where it led you.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was just telling my oldest daughter about that just a few days ago, because she's auditioning for things now, and I'm like, you never know, if you don't make exactly what you thought, there's always something new in life to experience. So yeah, at that time I was, oh, my life's over, I was 15, everything I've known is done, it's so funny. But yeah, man, you never know what's around the corner. So
right. So the release of the new album Greenlight, it's about a month and a half away, and I've read how the title Greenlight came about, but I thought maybe you could explain it to our future audience.
Yeah, you bet, man. I mean, that's just a fun number. I when I was writing, well, not even when I was writing this record, during the shutdown there, when the whole world came to a halt, which I find there was a lot of silver lining to that, to the slowing down of life. It was pretty, looking back, I kind of miss it. But when things slowed down, my tour schedule obviously was done. Was kind of stuck at the house, and I have the Stax singles collection. Like, it's like what, 900 and some songs or something.
Massive. It's massive.
And
Yes.
so I used to kind of like, I'd piece in some listening, but I just ate the whole thing up in a few days, and it was wonderful. Like just submersing myself in a lot of albums and records that I have that I hadn't been able to listen to because I've been so busy. And so I was really inspired, particularly just with the Stax kind of fun R&B tunes, that really just make you feel good, because at that time you're stuck alone and you're going, oh man, like this is tough. Like I had my wife and kids here sometimes, but not all the time. And so, there was some lonely moments, but yeah, Green Light's one of those tunes that's kind of like, borrowing from Stax and going, I just want to make something joyful here, that makes people feel good when they need it, like a Rufus Thomas kind of vibe. And so Green Light, yeah, I mean, ideally it was kind of about the world starting back up and us being able to kind of see each other again and get back to some of the things that we really missed. And then maybe kind of a hope that maybe our career would take off with this record more so, but I don't know. That's not really what it's all about anymore.
Well, you put a lot of thought into the album, I know, because I think if I remember correctly or reading that you had about 40 songs and you whittled it down to 10. And
Yeah.
so these 10 songs are hopefully in your mind, as you put them together, the 10 songs that you really feel like this is the time. These are the songs that, you had so much time to put together, 40 of them. And I think one thing to kind of be able to whittle them, to have choices, not just say, I've got 10 songs, I need one more, or
Right.
Where you had 40 to choose from. Tell us a little.
Yeah, I mean, I just had a lot of time instead of I had fans and people that I know that, when everything stopped, they kind of got lost in a bottle or, unhealthy habits. And instead I spent a lot of time in the basement creating. Some of those songs were from a project that I started where I was commissioning songs for people for their personal lives. And so I was like, it would be kind of a cool idea to connect with people during this time where we're unable to be with each other. If they have a special occasion that's coming up or something they want to, anything they want to commemorate through song. So a lot of, about half of those tunes were written for other people, where I kind of had to take their story. I would ask them like a bunch of questions about whatever their story is that they want to tell and what vibe they were going for. And so I went through that process, and that was really cool. Being able to connect with people and realizing how much we have in common, because you still need to connect emotionally to a story in order for the song to come across as genuine. So I was able to connect with these stories, and it made me feel less alone. That's part of the songwriting process then. And then the other was just, having time to just kind of explore my own creativity and vibes that I was feeling from everything that was going on with COVID, everything that was going on with Black Lives Matter, everything that was going on in the world in general with very heated political stuff that was happening. I mean, it's the last couple of years have been heavy, man, like really heavy. And so processing that it was good to have something an outlet that was created for that, and the time to process.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of artists found that, if they didn't self-destruct because of all the things they were missing and the money they were missing and all that, then it was a time to really sit down and create. And so that's our job, right?
Yeah. I mean, you talk about that silver lining. I always think about the fact that I'll never get a time like that in my life again, where I would have that much time to be home with my family and to be able to really dig into music I wanted to listen to and do some writing and whatever it was. It just piles and piles of unfinished business that I was able to actually that time,
Yeah, I don't know why we move so fast. Just woke up this morning thinking about that too.
Yep.
And I wrote a song about that called "The Slowdown," and maybe that one will be on the next record. I'm not sure. There's a lot of tunes on there that didn't get on that were pretty good in my opinion. But I had to kind of figure out, I didn't want to overdo it. So it's kind of
But
hard to
it's a
whittle them
great
down.
problem to have. It's a great problem to have because
Yeah.
when you're on the
Yeah.
road, you play a couple of those songs here and there and get the audience sampling, see what they think about them, the songs that didn't
Yeah.
make the record, and you say,
Yeah.
okay, that's on the next record. It's a good
Yeah.
problem.
Right.
They have too much music.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
When you were writing these songs for specific people, were these people in your life, or did you actually advertise like, hey, I'll write a song for you did you like, there's so many social media
Yeah.
platforms that people use for things like that. Is that the kind of thing you did, or was it more friends,
Yeah.
family, and related to that
I
group?
reached out via social media. And so I had some friends and family that I was familiar with, and
Right.
people that were just fans of the band that I did not know, from other states, and completely, maybe met them in person once or twice, but I don't know their story. So it was interesting, and I have a degree in journalism. So I maybe use some of those skills to kind of get to the heart of the story that we're trying to tell. And so, but it was a fun exercise, man, and just getting the reactions from people when they get their song, like, a couple for weddings and some birthdays and anniversaries and things like that. And people, I think it touched them, and they can keep that for themselves forever.
Yeah, I think it's a really neat concept, and there's a few artists out there that come to mind every once in a while that you think that that's what they kind of do. They connect so well with their fans by things like that. So a couple of artists have said, send a picture and then we'll put it on the album cover, or send
Right.
a song, or do a cover of one of my hit songs, and that kind of thing. There's a
Yeah.
few
Right.
that do that, and I just think it's the coolest thing that they're so
Yeah.
connected with their fans to the point of including them on a recording.
Yeah.
Or
Right.
a song for them. It's so neat.
Right. Yeah, man. It was essential during that time to just, I don't know, to know that your craft still meant something, because you're not seeing people together in a room and vibing, that the artistry of songwriting was still something that could have an effect on people, even though you're just looking through a screen.
Yeah.
Because, the real thing is where you feel the energy, in a room. But,
Right.
you know,
Once you decide which songs you were going to put on the album, how hard was it to sequence them? How hard was it to decide the order of the songs?
I went through a couple different, a couple of different song orders. But yeah, man, I mean, uh, I don't know. It's like when you write a tune, eventually it just shows you which direction it should go on its own. So, yeah, I don't know. You go through a few iterations. It's like picking different, chord structures and things like that. And you go, okay, well, this kind of works, but maybe something else works better. And so the song order, I feel like it's a very natural progression, where it is now. But, it took a few lessons to kind of figure it out.
And we live in a world right now where so many people are cherry picking off of iTunes or something like that, where it's a shuffle play. And so that's why I always ask that question, how important it is that people hear those songs in the sequence, or not important, how important it is to each artist,
Yeah, I mean, I like to listen to entire records. That's just how I am. So I like to when I make an album, I like to, I want people to sit down with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And ideally, either you're driving, or if you're lucky enough to have an hour at home, play the whole thing, because that's that's how it's crafted that's how I do it. So, but yeah, it's a good one for driving, and you can pop it on at home too. So, but yeah.
The first single from the album, called Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
As I listened to the song, I got pulled into it right away when I heard the first notes of the intro, all the staccato notes and all the brass and everything staccato. Was it easy a choice to make that the first single? I know it's the first track on the album too, and sometimes artists even put a song deeper into an album that's the first single. But just the song itself, not that it's lead off, but just it is the single.
Yeah.
That hard to do, to choose that first song to put out there, or?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I did with it. The problem with this record, which is the first time I've had this problem, is that I love each and every one of these songs equally. So there's not, I don't want to say that I've released records that had duds on it or anything like that, but there's songs that I was more in love with than others. on this album, there's not a weak song in the bunch, in my opinion. So it was really, and I'm not a cocky person. Like,
Yeah.
I often don't even claim songs are mine. I claim that I'm the muse that, or I'm the conduit that the muse used
Right.
to get the song out. And I feel like that's the most genuine thing I can say. So anything that comes off overconfident, don't misread it, please, because that's not me. But I just love these tunes so much. It was hard to kind of figure out which direction to go because they all have a life of their own too. But I thought that evolution with the horn lines and the message to the vibe is, something that people can groove to, but it's got a deeper message as well. And the lead playing, the trumpet playing by Blake DeForest, and the sax playing by James Quato are bad to the bone, in my opinion. So this sounds real good.
I'm so blown away by the sound of when I listen to the wind section of your group, so blown away by how full it sounds and how it sounds so full on recording it live, and just blown away by how precise it is. I'm just blown away.
They work hard, and they take care to get it the way it needs to be. And so I'm very lucky to have musicians in my band and friends in my band that respect the writing and respect the songs and want to deliver it in a way that's as good as it possibly can be. So those guys are, they're special.
You can tell that they're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah. I mean, they talk about, getting just the correct amount of, sforzando, where you build the note,
right,
just the right cutoff times. Like, we want to get this just right at the same time. I mean, they really worked hard on it. So I write the lines, but they're the ones that made it shine. So yeah, it's a pretty good song that way, because they sure blow their butts off.
Like I said, from the very beginning intro, I was just pulled in. I was sucked into it from the beginning. Just the staccato, brass and wind sound. Just right. Really cool.
Yeah.
When you write a song, what usually comes first? Is it the melody, the lyrics, a little bit of both? Is it kind of happening as you're kind of singing a few words with a few chords, or what happens?
Yeah, it depends. It really depends. Sometimes, it's the hook. Like, if I read down, I got a copy of the record here so that I can think about it as we go. But like Loneliness, it was the hook, the chorus. Yeah. I just had that loneliness, always loneliness in my head, and then slowly kind of pieced the song together after that. Harmony was the groove first. It was just this boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh, I like that. And just heard it. I tend to hear just bits and pieces in my head, and then I have what I record on my at home is a 8-track digital Zoom recorder, and so I still use this. I bought it in 1999, and that's my songwriting tool, that and my keyboard. So, but yeah, I just kind of I'll piece together that vibe, and then build off of that. Write the bass line, and then throw down the guitar part, and then throw down the keys part, and just it's kind of a nice tool to use. Mirrors came to me whole. That's one of those songs where it was just like I heard everything.
Yeah.
I just sat down and I was just like, okay, whatever you need me to do.
Yeah.
Whatever this power is up here, because it was really emotional, man. I was like, wow, okay, this is an important song for now. When you get those deliveries, you're like, okay, please listen to this. Just listen to this, because it's important. Mr. One Up was the groove as well. I think, yeah, I think that one was piecing together a lot more of just kind of bits and pieces of different bands that I really love. There's a little bit, you can hear a little bit of Tedeschi Trucks in there. You can hear little Meters in there. You can hear a little Dr. John in there. So it's kind of just wherever these things come from and piecing it together. But yeah, I mean, there's 2 songs on the album that I wrote that were for other people. Crazy Love was one of those commission songs for two friends of mine that hang out at the zoo bar that found each other later in life, that were, they're past 50 and found each other, and they're both kind of wild people, and they found each other, man, and it's the right kind of crazy for both of them,
Sure.
and they're so happy, man. It's just a wonderful thing. So I wrote that for them for their wedding. And then Beautiful Peoples for well, now a young man, but when I first met him, he was 2 years old. I used to babysit him when he was a toddler, and that's his philosophy on life. So those, the most of the words in there are things that his mother and himself would say about what he believed about life, and so I wrote that for him when he graduated high school.
That's really neat. It's so neat to kind of hear a little bit about the stories behind how the songs came together. I mean, I think that's always interesting in interviews or on stage sometimes when someone's about to play a song, to say, this is how I, like a storyteller's kind of a situation where, when you're with the intimate crowd, it's even more exciting to be able to share, this is why I wrote this. This is more than just a bunch of chords and words. This has a deep meaning to me, or has a deep meaning to someone I wrote this for.
Right. Yeah, it's nice to have those occasions where you can tell people that, and they're not just like, whatever, buddy, just play a song.
Which probably happens once in a while, people have just, they've had a couple maybe Pepsis or so, and they just decide that they're gonna, they just want to hear the music.
Yeah, and that's fine too.
It's fun when you can do it. It's fun when you can share it, and you can tell how much you can see tears in the eyes of a fan, just like, wow, this is a deep song.
Wow. Yeah. That's why I continue to want to do this. We've had the great fortune of meeting some wonderful people that, in our travels that we know we've affected personally. And so, and those are the times when you're like, man, this is just, it's too tough. I'm away from my family too much. The money is not good enough. Just struggling. And then you remember those people that you genuinely like had an effect on their life, and you're like, man, okay. And when they tell you about it, when they remind you about it, that helps. So if there's any listeners out there and you have certain artists that have affected you, it's okay for you to let them know, because we don't hear that. We don't know if it's just you're throwing it out into space, and it just keeps going till no one real, into a black hole. You don't know if it has any effect at all. So, when a listener lets somebody know, it goes a long way.
I think it's a truth in life that we have to remind people how much they mean to us, that sometimes we don't, a teacher, sometimes we don't give that feedback to a former teacher or to a former supervisor at work or something. Say, I was going through a really tough time in life, and your song changed my life, or your advice helped me to turn on a path. I was on this wayward path, and you said a couple words in the song, or you said a couple words at work to me that made me rethink my whole situation and realize that I have hope. That's the thing that I would imagine would be so humbling for an artist when people do share it with you. Yeah,
man. Yeah, for sure. And you're right. Yeah, that's any lesson that you have from the music business is something that applies to life in general. So you're exactly right. Yeah, just letting people know that they mean something to you and that they had an effect on you. It can go a long way.
You talked about the song "Beautiful People," and I wanted to ask you. At the end of this song, you speak a little bit. It's in spoken word versus in melody, where you're speaking to your listeners. Yeah. And I was wondering if maybe I could share those words with our audience.
Yeah. Let me tell you that I when I was doing that, I did it live, and I was channeling my father, because I'm gonna get emotional. You can just say it. I channeling my dad. He's a great guy.
I'm going to go ahead and share these words, because obviously his impact on you and how it channeled. As we look at the challenges our world faces, you may feel you are too small to affect changes. You may think it's insurmountable, the problems in so many places. But realize that each day you have a chance to affect the people and things around, and that by giving beauty into the world, you can make a positive change on everyone, and everything you touch. And as it expands and resonates, you realize that you are connected to beauty everywhere. And we control how and where we go. So be beautiful people. And those words, oh my goodness, if someone doesn't listen to that song after hearing those words, then they're not a true music fan. They got to go and a true lover of life. They've got to hear that song to understand how that all fits in. It's
yeah, right.
It's a beautiful set of it's just a beautiful message.
Yeah, man, for sure. And that's, my father always says, you can't change the world at large, but you can make changes in your community and with your friends, your family, and that it just pushes out. It ripples out. So, yeah, in a world that's so messed up, man, it's good to remember that.
Absolutely, it's so true, so true. Yeah, and it's just the kind of thing where sometimes we don't think we can make that a change in our own community isn't big enough, or we have bigger plans in our mind, but that could just spiral into something bigger. Because think of all the great people who have really changed the world in a positive way. They had to be, they put their pants on one leg at a time like we do. Right. And they had to believe in themselves and believe in their message. And you just never know where it goes. You now, as a musician, have a platform that, maybe it is in your community, but with the world at your fingertips, with the internet, with social media, your message could travel across and back in 5 minutes. You just never know how that can really, really impact a larger, and if it affects your community and your state and your city, that's great too. Whatever it affects is just the power of music and spreading messages. And
yes, I don't think that there's anything wrong with talking about deep things in your songs. There's people that are on the fence about that, that are like, hey, this is just entertainment. Just entertain us. We don't need to hear anything deep. Like, I'm talking about climate change in one of these songs. I'm talking about, our messed up political systems and how people that have huge egos and don't really care about anybody can rise to the top of political systems and totally destroy all of the, norms that we had. Or respect for other people. I mean, there's a lot of deep stuff on this record, but it's put to music that moves your body too. So you're like, wait a minute, what's this guy talking about? So the people that are like, just entertain me, they're dancing, and my hope is that, oh wow, okay, oh yeah, we're talking about deep stuff, and I'm still feeling joy here. I'm feeling this groove, but it's got some substance.
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I always admire people who take the time to have a message in their song, because it shows that they care, and it shows that, I always admire that. And I think there's a lot of people out there who really appreciate the depth of lyrics and that they mean something more than just a catchy melody. And that was something that's, I think, just a foundation of music. When for some people just jam about, it's just about the melody, or it's just about lyrics that rhyme, or this or that. But to me, it's always so much more rewarding to listen to something that's deeper than that.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad I'm not alone. But I get down to some just fun music too, So
of course,
the song on the record here, "Show Show Do," that's something I have. My two daughters, we love to cook together, and as they've grown older, my kitchen has gotten smaller. And they're 13 and 9 now, and so when we cook together, it's hot pans and knives and all this other stuff. I'm going, watch out, nope, and then that turned into show. I've been saying it for years, and I'm like, what? I like the sound of that. Let's make that into a song. So, and that was just a fun groove that I had written, and I'm like, what am I going to sing to this? And I think I got it. Yeah, so it's the show do.
Yeah, that's great. It's great to hear the story behind the song.
Yeah.
So in a couple of the performances I've seen you do on the internet, some of the YouTube things, once in a while you'll be playing, and then you'll stand up and sing. Is when you get to those moments, are those moments of that you're just so into it, or are they moments where you're like, hey, this is, I really want to belt now. I want to stand up and I want to be able to
Yeah.
protect my voice at this moment and not be sitting bent in half in a keyboard.
Right. I think sometimes, like when I do mirrors, it's something where I kind of need my full energy. It's there's a lot going on there, energy wise, singing. So I need my full body to make it all emote everything I need to get out. But other times it's kind of like I do know that when I stand up that it's more engaging. Like somebody just sitting there playing piano and singing is just visually it's not very engaging. So I try to find moments where I can get up and get from behind my keyboard and perform, put on a show, so to speak. It's mostly where the music is. I feel like I don't need the keys in there, and I can just allow everyone else to hold the tune, or the keys aren't that important to what's going on at that moment, and I can stand up and engage people a little more.
And when the keys are important, when there's an important one with the keys, you're using a Hammond organ. And I think for people that don't always realize, it's not like a Ford or a Chevy or Hammond has just been, it's a special for vintage sound, for that jazz blues sound. Maybe you could explain a little bit about the Hammond.
Yeah, you bet. I mean, it's the original. So there's really no replacing that. There's no module that can replace it. There's no synthesizer that can replace it. And so I don't play through a full Leslie cabinet, but I do have a Leslie 21, which is there's one rotor, and then the bottom rotor is simulated with two speakers that play at different times. So it kind of sounds like a rotor. Cool. But it's like 30 pounds, not 175 or whatever. So that's pretty nice. But yeah, man, I mean, there's a kind of a hallowed sound to the Hammond organ. It's got that church all wrapped up in it. It becomes something spiritual when the Hammond's played, I believe, and it's got a lot of teeth too, man. I mean, it can grind on you too. So there's a certain level of it's for the spirit, and it's for the booty, So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love the sound of a Hammond organ, and I just really when I saw that on your, when I see you playing live, I think, wow, that's pretty cool, because that is the real, that is the keyboard. Yeah,
I'm honored to be a official Hammond artist, and
that's great.
I'm not a cutter by any means. There's we got Joey D, who just passed. I mean, this guy is a wizard of utilizing the instrument for everything that it is. I'm not that guy, but I love the sounds that it provides for my band, and there's no beating it. So.
How difficult was it to pull together these musicians to form Colossal? I mean, I know you've been doing songs for a long time, about a decade, since you were 6. But I mean, when you really were getting deeper into the songwriting process, maybe a decade of music now, and pulling these musicians together, friends, people along the way, how did it come about?
Yeah, we've had a large cast of players over the last 10 years. And so originally it was friends of mine in the Lincoln music scene. And one guy I couldn't find a sax or a second horn player. A guy by the name of Mike D was a player at the university, and he was doing his master's work over there in jazz studies. And so he joined the band with me and my buddies, and people I'd been playing with for a while. And so it was fun. And then people kind of started figuring out, oh, this is going somewhere, and I can't really tour. So as people kind of became more aware of the trajectory of where the band was headed, that's when I lost the drummer first, because he's a farmer. He's like, I'm sorry, all my crops are dying after a 2-week tour, man. I got to stay here. So then I hired someone else after that, and it's we're doing a 10-year reunion or anniversary show in December, and I've got like 26 artists coming to join me.
Wow.
So it's kind of a family of people that I feel very blessed to have worked with. Everyone has been so talented and willing to play my music, man. And I'm honored by that. I always tell myself, and these guys too, I say I'm the worst player in the band. So I'm so thankful for all the skill and attentiveness and heart that these guys have put into the music that I've written. So without it, it wouldn't be alive. There's no way. It'd just be some recordings on a Zoom machine.
Right. And how cool is it to write that at the piano and then hear it expanded to these instruments? I mean, like we use technology to kind of, because it's okay, this is what the guitar is sound like, this is what the trumpet, but then when you actually get the live musicians and people wind into these things, and
it's a whole nother world, right? Oh no, it's a whole nother world. Yeah. And they're every single one of them is a great player. And so it really just comes alive. You just see it all kind of come alive, and there's no substitute for playing with other humans, man.
Right.
You can do the looping thing all you want, but a band is always going to be a band because it's the compound energy of all these souls put together, man, that are all riding one wave, and that's the magic. That's where it is.
I want to respect your time this morning, so I just have a couple more questions for you, and I want to wrap things up with you because I want to respect your morning here.
Cool.
I just wanted to, so when you're on the road, writing, touring, and everything, the opportunity came about to be on The Voice. How did was that something that someone said to you, you should do this, or did you say, I want to see or how did that come about?
I don't know. I think I can be honest about this. They reach out to certain artists to see if they want to try out. And so they had called me 3 years in a row to see if I wanted to come try out. And so the third year I was kind of struggling on the road. It's funny, like I never intended to be a touring musician, but it kind of just happened naturally. You know what I'm saying? And then when you're in it, you're going, okay, this is crazy, because you go from one place to the next, and some places don't advertise at all, or they make you a promise and they don't keep it, and you get frustrated. So I was like, at this point in time, I'm kind of riding this wave, but there's a lot of issues too. Maybe this will help. So I went and I auditioned, and it was an interesting experience. I don't think it necessarily helped my career at all. The people who seemed to watch that show seemed to just watch that show. There was really, because you can look at your social media stats and your stats on your website to see if there's any more clicks, and there really wasn't. I don't know. Most of the people that watch that show don't go listen to the original music of the artists that are on. I don't think so. People recognize me in public, which was mostly annoying. Asking me what Blake Shelton's like. I'm like, I don't want to have the same conversation over.
Right.
But I met some cool people there, and I sang my heart out, and I was who I was. They were trying to change how I sang and tell me I can't use vibrato, and I'm like, I'm just gonna be who I am, okay?
People don't realize that there's so much of that kind of stuff that for TV production, how much goes behind the scenes to kind of like mold and shape, or even when someone gets attached to a label, there's a certain image the label wants to portray. And I mean, the image that the artist wants to portray, but they get pulled along the way, and then sometimes people go their separate ways and do their career outside of
right.
label or a TV show or whatever it is. It's the glamour that we see in a record label or in a TV show. It's not always what it's cut out to be.
Right. No, not at all. And I honestly think that those shows are unhealthy, because it teaches people to listen to music in like a 1-7-second sound bites, and not immerse themselves into an experience. All the lights and the glamour, like you say, it's really detracts from what the art form is. And so when you get done with a show like that, I'm sure that a lot of other people have experienced this. That's what people crave. They're like, oh, I saw you on television with all the lights and the glamour and shit, but when you come to a show, it's I mean, it's an investment.
Right.
If you really want to be present at a performance, it's an investment of your time, and it's not a quick kind of like an exchange of whatever. It's what's the right words I'm looking for? I'm sorry. But it's frustrating because they want that. They want you to be this larger than life thing. And you're like, no, I'm down here with you. And I have similar experiences to you. And I want to relate to you, but you need to invest some time to hear where we have commonality. It's just weird, the whole minute of fame. It's very strange.
It certainly is. And I've been around it my whole life, and I've seen it's just how some people get swallowed up by it, and some people can stay grounded and say, no, this is not really, I'm a musician. Or I always respect people who have a big song that propelled them into fame, or maybe even a one-hit wonder, and if you want to use that kind of phrase, and they hate that song, and they don't want to identify by that song, and they tour, and maybe they leave that song off the set list, and people are like up in arms, but not what they want to be remembered or identified for. They have 10 others that have things that didn't get to the radio or the TV show that are so deep and probably even more meaningful than that one song that someone got a hold of.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a double-edged sword, man, because you're asking for that help, and to have some notoriety helps. And so you're like, wow, okay, people know that, if you show up and you're going to play some music, oh, I've heard of this guy, but they want the thing from you that you don't feel is as genuine. You know what I mean? So it's kind of you're thankful for the notoriety, but at the same time, it's not the right kind of notoriety. I don't know. And it makes artists sound like, like we're all divas when well, just be thankful you had a chance to be on TV, and, dadgummit, none of us get a chance to do that, and you should be thankful. And I am thankful. I mean, it's not like that, but it's funny what the response that you get. It's not the connection that you want to make.
Right.
You're like, what we do is so much deeper than what you want from me now.
Right.
I don't want to sing karaoke for you. I'm sorry. I wrote these things to affect people. So just join me. That's the cool thing about Europe, is that they join you, no matter, you don't have to be a star there. They go, oh, okay, soul, R&B, I love that kind of music, I'm gonna go see it. And they come right up to the stage, and we have an experience together. The first time, they never heard of you. That's cool. They just want to hear the music and have an experience. So I kind of miss that sometimes in the States. There's certain places where people are like that here, but more and often than not, they want to know that you're already famous or something, and it's like, oh, Jesus.
It's nice just to be able to go away somewhere overseas and just be able to just be appreciated for who you are and your music, and not what your last single was.
Yeah, I have friends that's all they do. They just play over in Europe. So they play a few shows here, but they're like, nah, I just got to go over the sea. But anyway.
As you prepare to go out on the road again, because I saw you do have some tour dates coming up and record shows and everything, is there anybody, not necessarily that you're going to try to make it happen right now at this moment, but down the road, is there anybody that you just really would love to share a stage with, a double bill, that you just feel like your music and their music just really resonates? And, whether it be someone that's already established out there or someone that's just in your own neck of the woods.
I've dreamed of playing that Tedeschi Trucks Wheels of Soul tour for a while.
Yeah.
I love their band. I love the musicianship and the songwriting and the spirit. I'd love to share the stage with them, but anybody that's genuine would be cool to play with. But that's the one that sticks out to me, to be on that, because they do like a whole, it's a whole tour thing. So if you're listening, have us.
They will
be a lot of fun.
Yes, every interview you do, you got to mention that.
Yeah, right. And the number is 4.
Right.
No. Yeah.
Where should people who want to learn more about your music, and maybe aren't in your neck of the woods where you're touring, or they're not going to be able to see you on the road, and they're using the internet as a means to hear more new music, what are the best ways to in social media to learn more about your band?
I'm kind of old. I'm 45, soon to be 46. So Facebook, I don't do Instagram. I know I'm supposed to or whatever. I just don't. So I'm on Facebook, and then our website too, joshhoyer.com. But yeah, the band page, and then my personal page too. You know, come make friends with me if you want. But yeah, I mostly just, you know, post a lot about where we're playing and that kind of thing. And yeah, if you want to know more, just listen to the songs.
Fantastic.
That's what I'd say.
I want to talk to you real quick offline for 10 seconds, but I'm just going to wrap
Okay.
up our interview here and just, you know,
Cool.
pull things together for, you know, so just want to remind our future audience that the Greenlight's coming out, the new album from Josh Hoyer and Soul Colossal coming out October 21st.
Mhm.
You know, being available in the industry where things have changed a little bit, you know, it'll be available at that point to be streamed, to be listened to. But I know I would imagine, are you doing a physical configuration of a vinyl, or are you doing a CD? Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. I love when people can still embrace the physical configurations.
Oh yeah. We've got CDs. We got records.
I'm really glad you have a copy of that just to hold up, because I wanted to hold up the artwork, but I wanted to do like, here's a piece of paper, you know. So that's really cool. There it is, Greenlight, October 21st. October 21st.
Had some devils on there.
Awesome.
Good.
Do you sell your merchandise on your website? Can people buy records on your website?
Yeah, you can do pre-sale right now. So I'm really proud of this record. Sometimes they're rushed. Sometimes, like you said, oh, okay, I got these 10 songs, that'll work. This from day one, this was crafted intentionally from every aspect, and I had the time to do that. It wasn't rushed because we were touring. It wasn't rushed because, you know, life had slowed down. It's a really good record, and it's I'm really proud of it. And so there's nothing on this I'm like, damn, I wish I would have done this or this. I'm like, I love it just as it is, because it was all done intentionally. So if you get any album of ours, go on to our site and buy it. It's good, and I'll send it to you myself. I got them all here at my house already. I'll go send it to you.
You get right from the artist, directly from the artist.
Yeah. I don't got anybody to help me, man.
So you know, I just want to thank you so much for your time and speak to you offline for a quick moment. But I just want to thank you so much for your time today, and I really love the albums track for track. You're right there. You know, there's no filler, song for song. The brass, the vocals, the everything. It's just I love it. I really love it.
Right on, Kevin. Thanks.
I always, yeah, of course. I just love to be able to hear something before it comes out and be able to talk through it. Then when people come out and say, see, I told you so. See, you got to hear this, you know?
Yeah. Cool. Heck yeah. Right on, man.
So again, thank you for your time today. And we'll look forward to getting more people to hear your music in October 21st.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right.